And that I had a great group. That's what really helped. I had a great group of guys I was working with, and maybe the work wasn't great, but I enjoyed the people I was working with, and that's what really kept me around.
You are now tuning in to the Relentless Project. Real people, real stories, real life.
We'll get started. Okay. This is the one with Eric Crafton. Tell us about VSA, what it stands for, and then one thing I like to do is kind of get a little bit about you and what you do and what caused you to start this nonprofit. But I think it's very important to kind of start with your nonprofit, Sure. What it stands for, and what it's about.
So over the years, I worked for multiple veterans groups. The American Legion, I'm the vice commander for Post 18 in Weehawken. For the VFW, I'm the senior vice commander for Hudson County as a whole. And I worked with other nonprofits as well, such as New Jersey SOS Veterans Group. What I started seeing was there was more services needed for the veteran community that some of them just weren't fulfilling. It wasn't part of their mission. Or, like in the case of homeless vets, they need a place to stay immediately, but sometimes you can't get a hold of them or they can't respond immediately because maybe I get the call at midnight. So I decided to start a nonprofit to address some of those gaps in services. And that's pretty much how it started.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we hear the rumors and we hear the complaints that, veterans have, it's hard to get help for veterans. Like you reach out to these organizations and they're either overbooked or, like you said, we don't offer this kind of service. And it's kind of disheartening when you hear that, because these are men and women who've kind of gave everything and then lost everything. And then it's just like, hey, sorry, we'll try.
Well, it's not that case in all cases. So let's say I get a veteran and he's homeless, just got evicted, because I never get the call as it's happening. Like, if you're getting evicted, you're getting court notices in advance. I don't get the call then. I get the call when it's already happened.
Okay.
So I'll encounter them and I'll call these nonprofits and say, hey, can you come out? Can you take care of this guy? And sometimes sometimes they could take care of him immediately if I catch him at the right time. Other times it's a 24-hour response time. So that's one of the missions from the NJVSA. We're going to provide that first 24 hours to the guy until the bigger organizations can take over. We're more of an emergency response when it comes to that.
Oh, so you're bridging that gap. That's cool.
Correct.
That's cool. And that's just a New Jersey thing, right? You're just locally there, or is that something you hope to expand to other states in the area? Like, what's your goal for the Veteran Support Alliance?
Well, for now, I'm focused mostly in northern Jersey, Hudson County, Bergen County, Sussex, etc., Union to a degree. But if I can expand to the entire state, and I do work with even people from South Jersey. If I can expand that far,
you've crossed into South Jersey. I hear that's like North Jersey and South Jersey, man. There's a war going on there.
Nah, not really. I mean, people debate. The bigger debate is Central Jersey a thing? That's the bigger debate in my state. But if I can expand even further, let's say hit Pennsylvania or New York, it's going to take a lot more fundraising. I'm going to need to raise a lot more money to facilitate that. But I would like to expand to those areas because there's a need in all these places. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a veteran in need. There's going to be a veteran in crisis. And that's stuff I like to address.
And so what services do you provide? You say you're like kind of this emergency
Sure.
area where you're bridging this gap. Like, what are some services that you provide these veterans that maybe someone listening in Jersey? The podcast has kind of gone over there now. There's a few people from Jersey listening, and I appreciate it. So, like, what if there's someone listening right now that is like, oh, wow, I didn't realize this resource was out there. Like, what are some services you provide that someone can utilize?
Okay. So we'll start with VA disability claims. I don't particularly do the VA disability claims. So, for example, I'll have a soldier come to me and he's like, I need help with the VA. I have these injuries. They're denying my claims, or I haven't filed a claim yet. What do I do? So from a law enforcement standpoint, I try to treat them just like that, like it's a law enforcement case. I help them gather evidence first. I send them to doctors within my network, and I have a large network of doctors that want to work with vets and can help them get the evidence that they need. A lot of them work in personal injury, which is remarkably similar to the stuff you need for a VA disability claim. Once that is done and they have diagnosis, they get a diagnosis for whatever ails them, that's when one or two things can happen. One, they submit their own claim, because all you need to submit a claim is a firm diagnosis and proof of service connection. If they're comfortable enough, they do that. If they're not and they need further help with the submission and the paperwork, that's when I refer to a certified accredited VSO, which is the only person that can actually represent somebody in a VA claim. So that's one of the first things that I do.
Yeah, I hear the VA process is a job of its own.
It depends. And sometimes, you know what, it's funny. Like, guys think that it's kind of like someone going to court. You know, the person who represents himself has a fool for a lawyer, right? So some of these guys, they are able to do it because they already have all the evidence from the doctor. It's clear cut. They're like, okay, I'm going to submit for these diagnoses. And then they just submit the paperwork and it's done. It's very easy. But then I'll give you an example. One guy went too far. He took that mantra of gather as much evidence as you can to nail it down. He submitted a total of 1,200 pages-ish worth of documents to the VA for a disability claim.
They're like, we're going to take 5 years to review.
And you know what? The vast majority of his stuff got denied because it was all out of order and there was too much. I mean, government workers, for the most part, you know, they are underpaid. They have a heavy workload. They have multiple cases that they got to review. Now, this one guy submitted 1,200 pages worth of paperwork. I mean, you know.
It becomes an efficiency thing. It becomes an efficiency thing. They need to, and unfortunately, I could say this because I don't hold punches, but you need to review as many people as possible to get as many people help, right?
Sure.
And unfortunately, what happens there is you overlook some of the cases that may be important because their goal is to make this process as efficient as possible. So if anything's out of line, it's like, denied, in hopes that they come back into the queue. But like I understand it to a degree, but it's tough because when you're the person who needs that help and you're getting denied, it's kind of like, man, like what do I got to do? And then you're kind of put in this spot where you're like, they abandoned me, they left me. And I hear this from close friends who've gone through the process, and it's like, just do it again. Remain relentless. You know, do it again. Like we also owe to make sure it's done correctly to make the process work.
Sure.
So it's like a double-edged sword, and I understand it. So what got you here? You know, one thing I like to do is get someone's background and kind of understand what shaped their views, right? Like, it's my understanding you didn't finish school because you had a kid.
Sure.
My mother was the same, you know, and then she produced this beautiful product. But it's like you hear those stories, but like she's one of the people I look up to and admire, you know, her story and her perseverance and what she's overcome. And then we look at, she didn't finish school. Yeah, but she has provided everything in my life. And so it's like, it's interesting to see like how someone came up and why they make the decisions they make and then how they got to this spot. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where do you come from? Obviously, Jersey. You don't have the Jersey accent. You're Florida.
No, I grew up in Florida and came up here when I was a kid.
That explains the lack of accent. No, I'm kidding. What part of Florida?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, it's so beautiful there.
Oh no, it's gorgeous. I mean, beautiful weather except for the summer. That can beat you down a little bit, but
it's like a lot of rain in the summer, right? That's the rain season.
Correct.
So what brings you from the beautiful state of Florida to the beautiful state of New Jersey where winters are lovely?
It can be brutal, but my mom wanted to bring me closer. When my mom and my dad separated, she wanted to bring us closer to her family, and they all lived here in Jersey.
Okay.
So it was more of a get closer to the other family sort of situation.
Okay, and how was growing up in Jersey? I hear Jersey can be a little cutthroat.
Not to me. I mean, for me, it was just a different environment. This is going back years and years ago, so it's hard for me to articulate how I felt at the time. I guess it would be any normal struggle, like if you switch schools. You got to meet new people. It's a little awkward. It's a little different. So I think, as far as my memory goes, that's what I was dealing with the most. But for the most part, I don't think I had any issues.
Oh, well, that's good then. That's good because how we get raised can determine what we do. What got you into, was it law enforcement first or did you go military first?
So I got to go back a little bit into high school.
Let's go.
So I'm going to high school, meet a girl, and
ears, please.
So meet a girl, and one thing leads to another, and this is my junior-ish year. I think it was the end of junior year, where suddenly now she's pregnant. So I ended up leaving high school, working multiple part-time jobs just to make some decent coin to support my son, because I made him. He didn't ask to be here. I felt, definitely it was my responsibility to step up and do the right thing by that. So I ended up leaving high school. When I turned 18, I started working at the Department of Public Works in my township. And I liked the job. It was paying me, halfway decent money. I got health benefits for my kid. That was an extra. That was a plus.
That's huge.
But I really didn't like the actual work I was doing. So I decided, let me give school a shot. Let me try to go back. So I got my GED. I went to Hudson County Community College, took a class in criminal justice, loved it. And that's what set my path forward to potentially go into law enforcement. But I go to Seton Hall. I did very well at Hudson, got a high GPA, got a scholarship, partial scholarship to Seton Hall. But even at a partial scholarship, I was going deeper and deeper into debt. One day I passed by an Army National Guard guy, and he's like, how much do you owe Seton Hall? I told him a number. He's like, I could pay that off.
Don't you love it? And you're like, damn, okay.
I'm like, and it's only for a weekend a month? He's like, yep, 1 week in a month. Later on, I would find out that was
and then it's 2 weeks
deceiving.
in the summer.
A little deceiving.
I was in the Guard too, so.
All right.
I literally got swooped in the same way.
But they wiped out all my debt. That part was true. So that's what started the military end of it.
And how long did you serve in the military?
17 years.
Man, I thought it was going to be like a 6-8 year stint. 17 years.
No.
What kept you in it?
I ended up liking it to some degree. Yeah, like I didn't love some of the things I was doing, but I loved interacting with the guys, working with them.
The camaraderie. I was just having this conversation with a buddy of mine at work, and policing is kind of similar in the structure and depending on where you're at, but like, where he was kind of sharing stories. And he's like, man, like when you're in the military, you're not really loving what you're doing, but you're loving who you're doing it with.
And I had a great group. That's what really helped. I had a great group of guys I was working with, and maybe the work wasn't great, but I enjoyed the people I was working with, and that's what really kept me around. And also, New Jersey has a benefit. New Jersey has a benefit where if you stay with the Guard, by law, New Jersey state colleges cannot charge you tuition. So I stayed in even to advance my education. So I ended up getting a master's eventually, and I entered a doctoral program at the end. I didn't finish it, but I was able to enter it, and I didn't pay a dime for it.
What do you have a master's in?
Law enforcement administration.
Oh, it's going to be a chief one day.
I don't know if that's in my cards. I kind of I love law enforcement. I love what I'm doing with veterans and the nonprofit. I don't know, but
maybe we'll see. So you get into the military, and you're doing the Guard, and law enforcement was in the back of your head, right? Like what was the thing that pushed you to like finally do it? You're going to school for it. It intrigued you, and then what was that catalyst that was like, all right, I'm going to now do law enforcement on top of?
Well, the catalyst definitely was the law enforcement, the classes I was taking. So one of my first teachers was former prosecutor in Hudson County, New Jersey. So I took his class. He was very charismatic, very, he was just a good teacher, right? And he taught the class Intro to Criminal Law. After taking that class, I was set on my mind that I was going to become a cop because I just enjoyed the material that much.
For me, it was different. I went for marketing and then became a cop. I was like, man, I shouldn't have gone to college and gotten to debt. Because I could have but I learned a lot in college. You learn a lot about yourself and stuff like that. So,
but it can apply. I mean, think about it. In a law enforcement agency, it's not just cops. You got guys that work on our tech. We got guys that do administrative work, payroll, stuff like that. And what's community policing? I don't know if you have community policing out here. They might call it something else.
We call it community.
But that's marketing. You're doing a lot of marketing in there. You're creating flyers. You're creating different events, and that takes marketing to get the word out to your local community. So we need a lot of different experts in a lot of different fields to make a law enforcement agency work.
And that's what I think is cool about policing is people from different backgrounds. Like we have a guy who was a teacher, and then he became a cop.
And he might become a great FTO.
He's an SRO now.
Oh, there you go.
And it's like the kids love him. He's super good and he understands because as an SRO, it's very hard to balance what the school wants you to do and what your role as a police officer is. Because they still are a part of the police department.
Of course.
It's not like, I know some schools have like their own, but he is a part of the police department, but he's in a role in the school. So you have to balance what the staff wants you to do and what the school's looking for you to do and when legally what you can do as a police officer. He understands both roles because he was in both, so they do that job very well. So you did 17 years in the military.
Correct.
What's something that you can apply from that's helped you in law enforcement and in your nonprofit?
So with the National Guard, they like promoting people into leadership positions as soon as possible. So let's say in law enforcement, I get promoted to sergeant, or here I'm running the nonprofit. The military gave me early experience managing 10, 20, even 30 people. During the COVID-19 mission, I was on that for about a year and a half. First, I started at a mega site that was giving shots in Jersey, and I was managing up to 30, 40 people at a time because I was in an administrative role, creating different things, schedules, reorganizing how the process worked as far as like line queues and stuff. So it gave me early experience, the military, on how to manage multiple people, multiple personalities, things like that.
What was that mission? Like, what did that all involve?
What, the COVID-19 mission?
Yeah, because there was a
arms.
Really?
Shots in arms as quickly as possible. So the National Guard and different local hospital networks teamed up. So the National Guard managed the line queues and all that stuff, directing people. Some we had on administrative tasks because usually like the nurses would type in what medication was given, put it into their network. I think it was called Epic. So they would type it all in and all that. The soldiers would handle the administrative stuff. So we actually had a soldier and a nurse paired up. And the soldier would type in all the administrative stuff while the nurse was just focused on putting shots in arms. That's all they did. Outside, we had massive line queues. But luckily for us, a lot of our National Guard guys were also corrections officers put on the mission. And they're used to managing large swaths of people, right? You got a correction officer for like 100 people on a tier, stuff like that. We put them outside to manage those line queues. I'm like, if you do this full time, you should be able to manage this. And it was a good result.
Yeah, I'm sure those crowds got hasty. You're waiting in line. You're like, anytime you put a group of people together, there's always a problem. Just like, I don't know why. Like, can't we all just get along?
Well, in the beginning it was, but in the end, once we got a good structure in place, we got a good, ways to queue the line in place. It became a lot more orderly. People calmed down.
And given your line of work, what kind of pushed everyone? Like kind of falls into their thing, right? Like mine, I love defensive tactics, firearms, training. But like when we think policing, we think that's what policing is, when there's so much more that goes into policing. Mm-hmm. Your thing stems the mental health side. You know, you're on a CNT unit, right?
Well, not CNT not certified in it. We have a crisis negotiation type course, and they put me in that. I just always had a natural. For me, I always felt like I had a natural
connection with people. Yeah. Where does that stem from? Like, where do you think that comes from? Because I feel like I'm the same way. That's why I have the podcast. I'm the dude on the call who gives the time of day, and like I love talking to people and learn. And like, you know, law enforcement is seen as like, you know, good guys and bad guys when people talk about it, which is kind of annoying. But it's just people. At the end of the day, if you look at it, if we dumb it down, it's people going through tough times.
Sure.
And us there to help negotiate the situation. Like that's what it is, no matter what it is. And you know, more often the stuff we're dealing with is mental health.
Sure.
And it's just now a lot of neighboring agencies are bringing in, you know, delegates and support, and we're seeing a lot of that. And we get to utilize those resources, but we don't have it yet, you know. And it's like when we utilize those
Jersey
resources,
has it heavy.
It's awesome.
We got a lot. So right now, the Attorney General actually passed guidelines where if you have a barricaded subject, like, you know, somebody like that, and more times than not, they have a mental health crisis at the same time. Usually the two are true. They have to activate a SWAT team to go in. But it's not to just bust down the doors. We have a whole crisis negotiation team that talks to them to try to talk them out. That's probably like, and we also have to have a social worker with us too. We get them usually from Jersey City Medical Center. They have mobile crisis where they bring out a social worker or a therapist to try to talk them down as well. And so it's not just kicking down doors. We start with the mental health outreach. I don't do that part. I'm not certified yet. I hope to go to that school soon. But when it comes to normal jobs, like I'm dispatched to a job where someone's having a mental health crisis. It's not a barricaded subject situation. I always felt like I always had a natural knack for it because I feel bad for them. I want to help them. And I always feel like if you like working with something and your heart's in the right place, you could potentially become good at it just naturally.
For sure.
Because you want to be. And for some reason, I just had a knack at talking to them.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important to enjoy what you do, because I think that's where you see the videos online when it's someone who does it for a paycheck or someone who does it because it's cool. You can only do this job for so long for a paycheck or coolness, because eventually you get tired, you run down, and you're like, I hate it here.
Sure.
And that's where you see the issues. I feel like when you come in with a good intention and you appreciate the job and you appreciate people, you become very good at it. And we see those cops who like just connect. You know, I just saw a video, I forget where he's out of, but you know, he's in a city, and like every time he comes out of his car, everyone in the neighborhood is like, "Oh, what's up, Unc?" And he's connected with the community so well, and they've taken him in kind of as their own.
Okay.
And I forget where he's out of, and I feel so. I literally just watched a video, but I'm like, that's what community policing is about, right? Like mutual respect. He's earned.
Well, that's a whole different aspect to the mental health
for sure.
thing.
But like when you connect with people, you can connect with people going through a crisis a lot better. And if you formulate these relationships, maybe one of these people are the ones that have a mental health crisis, and you've developed that bond and that buy-in before. Now you're better equipped to deal with that. You know, you can go to all the trainings you want, but if you've never connected with people, when you go deal with someone, there's going to be nothing there for you to. You got to have to build that connection on the spot.
And those connections, like with mental health, has helped me immensely in the nonprofit, because some of the guys and girls that come to me, some of them are experiencing mental health issues. Some of them need the therapy. And that's part of the disability part of it, where I'm not just looking for them to get evidence, I'm also looking for them to get treatment, because a lot of them legitimately need treatment.
What are some of the challenges you find running this nonprofit? Like, what are some of the things that some of the goals that you want to have, or like some of the goals you have and some of the challenges you have reaching those goals?
Probably fundraising would be the number one thing, because you always, for some of the things that I'm trying to do, you always need money for it. Like, for example, the medical stuff. What if they don't have medical insurance? Right? The medical bills can climb through the roof in a very, very short amount of time. And that's probably one of the bigger needs I need funding for. The hotel stays, even for 24 hours, the average cost of a hotel is about $100, $125, depending on where you go. That can also get expensive. And then also the community-based events, which I can go into too, where I want the soldier to be king for a day. So, for example, we had 1,500 soldiers that just deployed and came back. They were in Iraq and Syria. They were disconnected from their family for a year, right? They got wives, they got children. The children might feel a disconnect. So what I'd like to do is throw a good event, I'm trying not to go cheap with it. I try to do something good. So, for example, this upcoming Wednesday, I don't know when this is shown, so it's probably already going to be past.
Yeah, it's going to be past. So tell us about the event. No.
I'll tell you about it. So, I decided to see Stranger Things on Broadway recently. That new show, Dark Shadow.
The Stranger Things
Shadow.
from Netflix?
Yeah, they made a Broadway show out of it.
Interesting.
Not a musical, but a play, right? So I saw it. I'm like, this is so cool. This is so cool. And a lot of the guys I work with are young, and some of them are sci-fi nerds. So I decided to just get a whole bunch of tickets about it, and I'm going to take them all to Broadway to see that show, them and family members. And it's those moments where the kid can look, oh, look, my dad or my mom, because of their service, what they did, they're getting all this cool stuff, and they're taking me out. And on my end, I'm able to provide something to them that they normally couldn't afford, because some of these Broadway tickets that I was able to get run between $150 to $250 per ticket. But they get the best seats in the house. They get to see a great show. Mom and dad get to be king for a day, and it helps them reconnect with their families. I've seen it before in other events that I do, and I decided to just continue it.
That's a cool aspect that a lot of people don't think about, right? We think about needs, food, water, shelter,
Sure,
all very important. But like we all, as humans, we have other needs too, right? Connection, relationships, entertainment. Like those are also needs, and some outweigh others. But how important it is to reconnect someone. We bring them here, and it's like food, water, shelter. Okay, you're good. No, doing something like this is interesting to me.
Yeah, depending on the person I talk to, some might say, no, the focus should be the first two, the homeless veterans and this. I'm like, all three are important, all of them.
Yeah.
Because one, this person is hurt, they need treatment. That's very important. This guy needs shelter, or girl needs shelter. That's very important. And last but not least, just for the family's mental health, reconnection and all that, I feel the third is equally as important to the first two, because they should have access to some of this stuff. They shouldn't have to struggle to buy $150, $250 part ticket, show tickets. They shouldn't have to deal with that, in my opinion, because they served a vital role in defending this country. They should have access to everything, in my mind.
Yeah, especially entertainment. Like most of their lives has been survival, and then what do we do when they come back? Give them survival.
Sure.
Well, it's like that's a very big thing that we often overlook is joy and entertainment. We're here on this earth once. I mean, depending on what you believe, if you come back, I don't know. But we're here for a short time. Mm-hmm. If you look at it, 80 years, which sounds like a long time, but it's a short time. We're here, and we're supposed to work, and we're supposed to do. You have to find joy in every little thing you do, And I think this is a cool way to kind of humanize people again and be like, hey, let's bring the spark back in your eye. I don't know about you. When I watch a play or a musical, I'm like, man, this was Dear Evan Hansen. I don't know why. Have you watched that one? It's not a horror, so I'm sorry. It's like but it's about mental health. It's about mental health. So I figured maybe it was your wheelhouse. This kid, he wants to commit suicide. He writes a letter to himself, and his therapist told him, hey, whenever you're feeling or he tried to commit suicide, and he was in therapy, and his therapist like, write a letter to yourself. And that was like one of the things he was supposed to do to help him through this process. Well, he writes a letter to himself, and one of the school bullies catches it from, like, takes it from the printer and reads it. And he's like, oh, like, what is this? And then something happens where the bully takes the letter. Well, the bully then goes home and commits suicide. And his parents find this letter, and they're like, we need to talk to Evan. And the parents believe that Evan wrote him this letter, or that he wrote this letter to Evan as like a suicide letter. He's like, we didn't know he had any friends, and we found a letter to you. Meanwhile, he wrote it for himself. So he goes through this process of, anyway, long story short, he goes through this process of like, he doesn't want the parents to like believe that their son died alone. So he went along with it, and then it all comes out. Long story short, it's very emotional. It's a movie that came from a play. I'm watching a play, and I'm like, man, it's getting thick in here. There's onions being cut. I'm like I love that stuff. So to be able to put people in there, like, feel emotions again, not survival emotions, but like, look at love, look at life, look at entertainment, music, whatever it is, horror. That's what gets your rockers off.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned. It's funny that you mentioned the other thing, because, and I just remember the name Stranger Things, The First Shadows of the show. So, have you seen season 4 of Stranger Things, or no?
I've watched every season. I've been waiting for like 20 years for the other season to come out. That's been in production forever.
But in season 4, we saw Vecna, how he grew up. And we saw that his dad was suffering from PTSD because he kept, well, it was because of Vecna that he was getting the images, but he dropped a shell on, what was it, a house where he thought during World War II, where he thought enemy combatants were, but he ended up killing an innocent family. So in Stranger Things, The First Shot, I don't want to give away too much, but I'm not going to give away anything. I don't want him to come after me. But
if you haven't seen season 4 by now, you deserve to.
Well, I mean the Broadway show too.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if
I haven't seen the Broadway show.
But I would tell you that when I saw the show, there was a deeper story. It was great, the show, but they also touched a lot on PTSD and soldiers coming back home, on some of the stuff they experience, some of the symptoms they have. That was addressed in the show, and I thought they did a great job. Actually, they were very accurate in some of the stuff I see with PTSD. They were able to express that on a Broadway play very well. So
interesting.
I thought it was. For my organization, not only is it a good time, it is kind of an awareness thing too, kind of tied to it. I mean, mostly I'm trying to be cool about it, but there is a nice little, hey, these are some of the warning signs of PTSD, watch out for some of this stuff.
I just want to take a second to shout out a few companies who believed in me. These were one of our first official sponsors, so huge shout out. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Carbo Jewelers. Established in 1997 on the values of honesty and integrity. Whether you're searching for the perfect piece, need expert repair services, visit Carbo Jewelers in Newark's Ironbound District, where your jewelry is always in safe hands. This episode is also brought to you by Continental Jewelers, proudly serving Hudson County, New Jersey since 1964. Whether you're seeking a timeless piece or need expert repairs, they've got you covered. Visit Continental Jewelers, your trusted source for all things jewelry. You can find them on Instagram at Carbo Jewelers or online at carbojewelers.com. Lastly, big shout out to Carbo Trading. Besides coins, precious metals, and jewelry, if it could be traded and collected, he's probably got it. They can be found on Instagram at carbo.trading. You can find all of our sponsors out online on our sponsor page at therelentlessproject.com.
Yeah, and if you sit down with someone and you're like, hey, let's talk about this. These are some of the warning signs.
Sure.
You may not connect with them. Where putting them in this environment, that's somewhere where they may become self-aware and like, wow, maybe I need to talk with someone. Oftentimes they always say, seek help, seek help. You're a man, I'm a man. I'm speaking on as a man. We don't do that. It's hard for us to do that because we don't want to be seen as weak or frail, or especially in law enforcement. Oh, I seek help. Am I going to lose my job now? I just saw a kid get hit by a car and die in front of me. Everyone's going to be affected by that. There's no surprise. But if I go talk to someone about this, are they going to think I'm crazy? So we put these scenarios in our head, So it's hard for people to reach out. And then we're like, hey, if you need some, what do we do as men? Hey, if you need some, let me know, brother. And then we walk away.
Sure. And you know what? I get that a lot with the military vets too. They're afraid if they seek help, are they going to be able to get a gun permit? I'm like, that's, I don't know. Like, even if that was correct, isn't your mental health more important than getting a permit? I mean, if you're not a danger to yourself or others and you're just experiencing issues, that shouldn't affect you anyway. But what's more important?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, if you need help, that's
primary.
Yeah, that's primary.
What good is a permit? What good is this? What good is that if you're not mentally correct? You're suffering from all these things. Is that worth the price of admission for other things? And it's also a lot of misconceptions. They believe that one thing affects the other. A lot of times it doesn't, unless, it's severe. Or, you have to be committed. These things can affect that. But for the most part, just seeking help, no. That has zero effect on anything. It just doesn't. And that goes true for the military. That goes true for policing. That goes true for everything else.
I feel that kind of helps your case. You're self-aware. You're seeking help. You're doing the right things.
Sure, and it should.
I think that speaks volumes. I think if you're hiding it and you're like, no, I'm good, it's going to boil over, and one day you can't control that.
Yeah, and that's I have a soft spot in my heart for people with mental illness because I see it as like you don't have control over yourself anymore. So I for some reason I can't articulate why, but it's one of those areas where everybody has a thing that they enjoy working with or they get satisfaction out of helping somebody. That's my satisfaction, being able to help that group of people. Same goes true for, let's say, community relations. I love working with children and doing kid-friendly events, which has transitioned over into the nonprofit as well.
Yeah, I love kids, man. They're so fun, and to see like the spark still in their eye, because we deal with a lot of adults, and the spark is gone,
sure,
and life is gone, and it's like, man, there's so much. Like you're 20 years old, you have the rest of your life ahead of you, and trying to convince someone who's in a dark place, like, hey, don't be there. Life is good. It's tough, and like it's kind of it sucks to say it like that, but I'm trying to make light of the situation, but trying to connect with someone and convince them, like, man, dude, I know it's hard now, but in 5 or even 10 years, you're going to look back and be like, wow, like I went through that and I made it. And
sure.
With kids, they have the light, everything's exciting, everything's cool, everything's fun, they see the cop car and they're like, can I press the button? We hate pressing the button. But
I still like pressing the button. I still like it.
I have the cops theme on my car, so like when I click a button, it plays the no copyright. But and the kids love that. Yeah, so I'm the corny guy who I'll go through neighborhoods and play, and the kids love it. I flash the lights, but when we're flashing lights, it's never a good thing, right? We're going to an emergency or something. Kids see that and they're like, they love it.
Well, sometimes kid, like I'm driving around and kid sees the car, he's pointing at me. I'll just turn on the lights and entertain him.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
then the car in front of me pulls over and I'm like, oh, why'd you pull over? Sorry.
I'm like,
cop.
oh yeah, I forgot I'm a cop. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I forget I'm a cop sometimes. I'll be driving and a cop gets behind me from another jurisdiction. I'm like, oh man, 10 and 2. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm working right now. But yeah, how has you said it's come to the nonprofit as well regarding like children and stuff like that. How do those cross over?
Sure. So it goes back to the king for queen and for a day sort of thing, right? And I also like seeing the kids light up. That's kind of cool too. So like I'll give you an example. Every year for the past 2 years, I've held an event at the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Every year.
I went for the first time last year with my family. Oh my gosh, it was so cool.
Which park did you go to?
We went to Nickelodeon.
Okay.
Nickelodeon.
DreamWorks is pretty awesome.
What is that one?
So DreamWorks is a water park. They got the 4th largest slide in America, indoor slide in America. I forget which one it is. They have a gigantic wave pool. It's a multi-million-dollar water park in the middle of entertainment center.
In a mall.
Yeah.
That's wild. We got Gucci in our store, and everyone's like, we got Gucci.
I don't even think you can call it a mall. Because they got an aquarium, they got this and that. It's more like an entertainment complex that happens to have stores in it.
They have a slope.
Big Snow. Big Snow's another one. So the past 2 years, I made great friends out of the American dream. And I expressed to them what my concept was, where, the king, queen for a day that I touched on. And they loved the idea, but they didn't know how to implement it because there's a lot of ways to do it. I said, I'll handle it for you. Just let me know how many you want to invite. I'll handle all the logistics, right? So they gave me a number, and the first year was 800 for the veteran and their families. That's what they went for, and it included DreamWorks Water Park, Nickelodeon Park. I filled that within 2 weeks.
Wow!
By reaching out to the different nonprofit networks that I work with, had a massive amount of people, all the kids, like they couldn't believe what they were in because those tickets are expensive normally. To get into Nickelodeon, it's like $80 per person per ticket. DreamWorks can reach $109 some days, so you're spending close for the nuclear family. For a family of 4, you're spending $800 if you want to hit both parks. They got to experience it for nothing. So when we would have a staging point, meet all the families, bring them into Nickelodeon. We have a little presentation on the stage, but the kids are lighting up because they see all this stuff around. Like, they're not paying attention to the speech. They could care less. They're watching the roller coaster, this and that. But that's awesome because now the kids get something to experience that maybe the families couldn't normally afford because that's a lot of money to a lot of people. And at the same time, they look at their dad, hopefully, or their mom, hopefully, saying, wow, my mom did great work with the military, and look, all this stuff that she's getting because of that, and they can rebuild that connection, especially if they just came back from a deployment or a mission, or, mommy or daddy is always gone on the weekends, 1 week in a month, or 2 weeks a year they disappear. It shows value for their service.
It provides an environment to bring that family together.
Yeah.
Have you've obviously heard of Seminar Stack? Did you hear about
Yes.
Because that's where Kevin Donaldson's speaking there. I think you should. It's in Grantville, PA, which I don't know how far that is from Jersey, but it's August 2nd.
As you can see, I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, dude, you drove. How long was the drive?
5 hours?
My dude, I appreciate that. Like, I was willing to do like a virtual one.
I was a truck driver.
In person.
I started as a truck driver when I worked at DPW. I'm used to driving 8-10 hours, and that's nothing to me.
Very appreciative.
As a cop, I work 10-hour shifts. I don't drive all 10 hours, obviously, but I'm
that is
used
true.
to
We're
driving.
like professional drivers, it's called. It's all we do all day.
Pretty much.
You should consider reaching out to Kate and Eric and getting a booth there. I think that would be beneficial.
Well, I've actually already been talking to them. I found out that of the booth thing, and more likely than not, I will be participating.
I think I'll be there. I'll be there with Immobilize. We'll be doing the No Cop Out podcast there and talking to cops and getting some content. But like, we want to push the event because I think the event is cool because they're not just it came off to me at first like a self-defense seminar, like a day of self-defense, but they're doing so much more. They have Kevin who's talking on PTSD, they have yoga, they have mobility, they have handcuffing, they're encompassing everything it takes to be a good law enforcement officer, and they're providing resources for cops and for civilians who want to better themselves.
Sure.
It's a day of just being better, with talks and seminars and jiu-jitsu. And I'm a huge jiu-jitsu guy. I think it's great that they're encompassing everything. And I think your organization.
Funny. I never had to get good at that last part because I'm built like a gigantic ogre. Most people just don't want to fight me. So it's funny, my police academy instructors actually said that. They're like, Crafton, you're going to have an unfair advantage out there more than your other guys. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, look at that guy. He's going to have to learn self-defense. You're going to walk on a scene and naturally people are going to be like, nah, I'm good.
What's the first use of force on the continuum? Officer presence.
Yeah.
I'm short. I'll admit I'm a short king, as they say. I tell myself that anyway. But I'm
not that short.
I'm broad. Hey, thank you. We'll go with that. But I'm a bigger guy, right? So when I come on scene, the first thing is always like I was at Chipotle yesterday, and the kid's looking at me. He's like, "How much do you bench?" I'm like regularly or my highest? Like, he's like, "What was your highest bench?" I'm like 445. He's like, he looks at his friend. He would break you in half. I'm like, I'm just trying to get a chicken bowl, my guy.
Yeah.
But when I go on scene, I can connect with people because they look at me and they think twice. Like if someone's gonna, and like let's be honest, when we as men, I don't know if you do this, but I'm weird. when I look at someone, I'm like, I think I can take him. And like that is enough for me to go, but I have a mutual respect, right?
I don't think I'm even thinking about that.
Oh, I do all the time.
So it's more like I go on a scene. You have that command presence, whatever. But I try to go on the scene friendly because a lot of times they're pissed off, right? So I try to come up and come overly friendly in a hope that they calm down, right? So like I had one guy, he's yelling and screaming. I'm like, hey, buddy, come on, talk to me. I'm going to help you. Whatever you need, I'll try my best to help you. And I try to calm him down that way. Like my philosophy is try to kill him with kindness. I mean, worst comes to worst, you got to do what you got to do. But I always try to start with that. Be as friendly as possible, maybe even a little over friendly, just to get him to calm down, tell you what's wrong. Let's de-escalate it a bit, and maybe we could come up with a great solution. Maybe not, but I'm going to try my best to give you the best possible answer.
That's always my goal too. Like I try to kill them with humor. Like some guys, I'll give them my best material and they don't break, and I'll tell them like, man, I'm giving you all I got, guy. Like you got to give me a smile. And usually when I hit them with that, they're like, okay, this guy's a little different. But that's how I try to come on scene, But like my size does help me because people will tell me like, damn, dude, what they bring up? They brought the tank out. Like I laugh. I'm like, oh no, I'm just, it's the vest. It's the vest.
The vest helps.
Yeah. Oh, the vest gives me added.
You can be a little fluffy, and the vest actually helps like square
keep it contained. Yeah. I appreciate the vest, but I think that's the best approach is always come in to lower the situation or attempt to provide that environment to lower the situation because you're going to someone's house, you're going on someone's property, you're intruding in someone's life. Mm-hmm. And then when I see these cops go, and I get it, there's a time and place, but they come in there hot, and it's like, how did you expect that encounter to end?
Those fuckers. There's always that one guy where you're honest and you have everything calm. He comes in and you just wish. I wish you were on your meal break. I don't need you here. Get out.
Yeah, why did you do this?
I don't need a second. You know what? It's one of those things where I'm like, I should have a second cop, but I'd rather do it myself because this one guy's that second cop.
I work for a great department, so a lot of the guys and girls are real cool, but I've assisted.
Same.
Where like I'm talking with someone, I'm like, oh, I got him down there. And then the cop in charge of the scene comes in and undoes it all. And I look at him like, why'd you do that? Like, what was the purpose of that? Well, we don't have time.
Well, today I agree with you as far as departments go. My department is great, right? But I'm going back to when I first started. When you had some of the older guys. I was hired in like the 90s, late 90s, whatever it was. And you're just looking at them and like, how did you make it this far? How? I couldn't figure it out. They eventually since retired, but I did learn a lot from them too.
You learn a lot of administrative stuff.
Well, not so much. No, just
what's this computer thing?
some of the guys that's been on for a long time, they came with a lot of knowledge, right? The guys that ended up staying past 30 years because we could retire at 25 with full benefits and all that stuff. But the guys that stayed beyond 30 usually are great subject matter experts. They know what they're doing. They could teach you a lot. But there was another group of older guys that you're like, yeah, leave at 25. Yeah. Just go.
Do everyone a favor.
Time to go.
What advice would you have for someone dealing with someone going through a crisis? Like, how do you approach someone who you believe is like, they're going through a tough time and you want to connect with them? Like, what's some ways you would do it personally? Like, how do you establish that connection?
Well, by actually just acknowledging their issue and that you want to help. Usually goes a long way. I mean, there's different tactics that I use from either the nonprofit area or the law enforcement area where I try to relate to them and I try to explain, do you really want to feel like this? I could probably fix you. And sometimes when you're dealing with a real mental health crisis, it was funny, during my training, they're like, you shouldn't confirm, you shouldn't like agree to what they're seeing. Like, for example, I had one person that believed he was possessed by the devil. And he was ranting and raving all over the place, running around. But I was able to talk to him, keep him calm. According to my training from one of the police academy classes I took, you should have said, listen, I know you believe that this is real, but it's not. That would have set him off. If I said that, and he would have heard nothing what I said. However, I said, oh my God, maybe it's that, you know what? I believe in God and I'm a church going person. Do I believe you're actually possessed by the devil? Not so much. I believe you're having a mental health crisis. But who knows? Let me take you to a hospital about it. He starts going off on me. No, I'm not going to a hospital. I'm like, no, I'm not going to take you to any normal hospital. You're possessed by the devil. Let me take you to Christ Hospital in Jersey City. They got priests there. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Hops right in the ambulance. No problem.
I guess, yeah, your goal is to get this person help.
Correct.
Like that's we have to achieve that.
Yeah. What's the goal in law enforcement? Get an objective done with the least possible force possible. And that's what I did. I didn't even touch him. He just hopped right on the ambulance. No issues.
You're like, close the door. Did you? Tap, tap, go.
Yeah, that was it. He was willing to go at that point. And he got the help that he needed. So in the end, yeah, it goes kind of against the training that they gave me, but I don't agree with the training that some of those instructors were giving me because I did try it. Like, I tried to implement it 100% what they were telling me. The problem with that was it set everybody off. It never worked.
And I think that's where, as a professional, you have to come in and understand, engage the situation you're in, and you can't be a robot about it, right? Like, we get protocols and SOPs, and if we just went down the line, how many of the objectives would be completed? Very few.
It depends. Like, so some of our policies, we have a program called Power DMS, right? And yep. But I love it.
Damn it.
I actually love it because let's say you're missing a step, or you're like, okay, I have this major incident that just happened. Well, I want to make sure I get every step. I want to do the right thing. I want to make sure everything's good. What do I do? You could go right on your phone and go right into the policy and just go down the list. Make sure that you're checking all the boxes. I think it's a great program.
I guess in that case, yeah. But like my stint with Power EMS is like, it'll be a 2-minute read. It'll be a 10-minute clock. And you're like, you can't accept it.
Oh, those are for classes.
Yeah. I'm like, come on. I read it twice. Like, let me just sign off on it.
Yeah, but if they don't have the clock, you know what guys are going to do? They're going to be like, oh yeah, I read it. Accept. Yeah, just get rid of them all.
What are your goals for VSA? Like, what are in 5 years? Where do you see VSA going to? Like, what are some of the things you want to see VSA do?
So, I told you one of the challenges is fundraising, right? So I'm looking at different ways to raise those funds. I can't hold events all the time. I can't do this. That's going to be very time consuming. And as it grows, it's just going to get more and more expensive. So I was looking for a way to make it self-sustaining. So you got the medical end. That's one. The homeless end is the area that I'm focusing on now when it comes to long term. There's a program. You've heard of Section 8, I assume.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's another program called HUD-VASH, where it's essentially Section 8 for veterans. They get, the same rates as Section 8, but there's a little extra to that. If you're approved for HUD-VASH, they come in, the VA sends a social worker to check on you once a month, so you get high-level supervision too. Ideally, what I would like to do is buy a multifamily property building, multiple units, and I rent exclusively to HUD-VASH recipients. But with the profit, I recycle that into programs for them. So basically, my organization would then turn into a self-sustaining organization. I could do fundraisers to boost extra capital to do other things, but what I'm working with now would be just sustaining itself over and over and over again. That's a long-term goal of mine.
And one of the facets is mental health. Is that something you see transitioning for law enforcement as well? Because those kind of overlap, or are you just strictly focused on veterans?
I don't know if it can overlap or not, but as far as the organization goes, it's strictly focused on veterans for the time being.
Yeah, I think we're missing something like that in a lot of places. It's cool that Jersey has it. Do you see it more North Jersey being your prime recipients of your assistance? Or?
Not necessarily. As I grow, it does grow. If it does grow and it keeps expanding, I see myself going into Pennsylvania. I see myself going to at least tri-state, right? If I reach that, I'm going to need a lot more staff and help and volunteers. But anywhere I can help, I would love to expand into those areas. North Jersey has a high population, so I see the majority of my cases coming from there. Just purely from population, you're going to see more veterans. Higher population, you're going to see more representation from that group. There's areas of Pennsylvania that's very packed in, like probably this city, and Philadelphia is another good example.
Philly's huge.
Right? Then you got where I live, right across the river is New York City. That's another high-level population. Well, I'd be able to help them all. I don't know. I'm still kind of early. I would like to start on the Jersey side, buy something, rent it out fully, put in some programs in them to get them self-sustaining themselves. At the same time, the HUD-VASH vouchers pay for the other, basically the profit from that pays for the other programs. And then maybe I can buy something in Pennsylvania. Maybe I could buy something in, maybe not New York City.
You're not buying anything in New York City.
New York State is probably up for grabs. Maybe. I don't know.
How can someone help your organization if they're listening and this is something they're like, wow, this is cool? Like, how can someone assist VSA in achieving your goals?
Well, if they like what I'm doing and they want to support it, I'm going to have events in the near future. Like July 22nd, I'm hosting a cigar event. But let's say they can't make it. They're from this area. They're not going to drive 5 hours to my area. Well, although I am pretty cool to have a 5-hour event with. Keep that in mind. But if they can't make it, they can go to my website. It's njvsa.org and just click the donate button. Whatever you can afford is greatly appreciated. You could do it at one time. You could do it on a monthly basis where it's automatic, even if like $5 a month. But, anything like that, any amount of money helps.
Now, is this something that's tax? I know some people are going to ask, what is it tax deductible? The only reason people donate is to get taxes sometimes.
I am a 501c3 nonprofit, so anything that's donated to me is tax deductible.
When did you fully launch VSA? When did it become I guess when was it founded?
It was founded last year officially, but prior to that, I've been working for years in that. I just did it like I'm just a nice guy doing nice things, right? But then after X amount of time where I see that not all the there was holes in some of these organizations, that's when I'm like, you know what, I'll do it myself. And I formed the organization.
So it's been going officially for a year.
Right.
And look how far you've gone.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It's expanded very, very fast. I was surprised, but I think I nailed some things on the head where they were definite holes in the system. I was correct in my assumption, and everything just took off from there.
How could the podcast help? How can I help?
If you could promote it, if you can share this information with other groups that do like supporting nonprofits, any way I could build my network further will help the organization, because the further you build the network, the more people that want to come in and help, the bigger it can become.
No, that's definitely a thing. I will do that. I'll provide all the links on the end and stuff. That way people can get to you directly. Awesome. You have like a QR code. Everyone's into QR codes now.
Those are plastered. Those are going to be plastered all over the place. But for the most part, right now, it's go to the website, donate. It's funny, on my business cards, I got a QR code where they can scan it. It goes right to my website.
It's a thing now. And as we wind down, after people listening to this episode, the podcast is over. They're going back to their lives. Sure. What's a message you want people to take from listening to this conversation?
Well, the main message is I understand there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that doing a lot of great work. My organization is focused on emergency response and long-term care as well. And we need your assistance. If they're willing to assist or thinking about assisting a certain nonprofit, consider supporting mine, because I named my organization on purpose the New Jersey Veteran Support Alliance. And the reason why is I want to connect all of these nonprofits to me. I'm going to provide help to different nonprofits for their purposes. For example, the American Legion. Recently, they encountered a veteran that was homeless. I provided that first 24 hours worth of care until one of the bigger organizations could come in and take over. So in theory, if you help me, you're actually helping multiple groups at the same time.
So it's like the first responder of veteran nonprofit.
Yep, and pretty much a first responder, and also someone that will take a group and throw them into a horror show about it.
Yeah, which I like that aspect. I think it's cool because it provides an extra thing that not a lot of groups do.
Sure.
So, and do you see yourself doing other events like that? Not just shows, but like...
Absolutely. So long term, well, I have the American Dream. We're also, right now, we're planning this early, thank God, because in years past, sometimes I got 30 days notice. This year, we're already planning for Veterans Day weekend. So right now, it's tentative, but we're going to have it on November 9th, and we're coming up with a ticket amount where soldiers will get and veterans will get free access to DreamWorks Water Park Nickelodeon again, right? So that's in the works. I'm also talking to Big Snow, the ski resort, there to have an event. Mountain Creek. I actually hit them with a wild idea because I saw there's a Guinness Book of World Record for the most people down the water slide, and it's held by Europe. And I talked to the American Dream in Mountain Creek. I'm like, we can't let Europe hold it anymore. We can't. And let's break that record with veterans. Throw them down a water slide about it. Let's get that world record. They'll be into it. Well, you guys get an award. It's win-win for everybody. But I'm looking to do more and more things. If it's fun, kids will like it. Soldiers will like it. Veterans will like it. And it's expensive. I'm going to try my very best to get access to it for them. Because they should have access. And that's where I see the event part of it going.
If you need help with an extra person going down the slide, let me know. I know a guy.
Hell yeah. Well, the record currently is at 1,000. You can participate, hands down. I'll invite you on. I'm going to be the 1,001 guy.
Let's go.
I want to be the one to shatter it.
It'd be like, I got to be the line. That'll be quite the line. I don't know how the line situation is up there, but you're going to have to talk about logistics. That's going to be one of the things you have to focus on is the logistics of getting people up and down.
Ever since I presented that idea, they actually went to their engineering team to see if it was safe and possible.
It's like, let's add some support beams. We'll be good. We'll be fine.
Sure. And you know what? It's funny. Everybody I said, they love the idea, but they got to check for safety. I'm like, yeah, I get that part. Yeah, you don't want two veterans diving on top of each other. That'd be crazy. But if there was a safe way to do it and we could pull it off, we should go. You know what? It's one of those things where I also try to help the business that helps me as well, give them some recognition. So what better way to give them recognition than smashing a world record? You get the title,
I'm petty. I'm all about it. What's the July 22nd event? You said you're having a cigar thing, cigar event. What does that entails? What does it do?
So one of the best people that I've been working with so far for my first event was the Waterside in North Bergen. Great people. So I told him about the nonprofit, what I'm trying to accomplish, and he said, you know what? I'm going to give you the space. Use it. And it's a beautiful space. It has panoramic views of New York City from across the Hudson River. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful facility. So what I'm doing is I'm selling tickets, sponsorships, etc., to raise money for these programs that I'm doing. For the most part, sometimes I get a nice discount or it's free for the events, but sometimes I also have to pay, and that can rack up the bill very quickly. Same with medical care, same with hotel stays. The average cost of a hotel stay, like I said before, is about $100 to $125. So I'm selling tickets for $100. Basically, you buy one of these tickets, you are taking a veteran off the street for a night in theory.
That's cool. Have you like been able to partner with specific hotels where they give you like discounted rates for doing this? Like
Correct.
If they have 5 open rooms, those rooms are discounted.
Yeah, for the most part, I've been talking to different area hotels, and I was able to, for the moment, get them down to a set rate, like no fluctuating price. This is like it's predictable. This is what I'm paying.
Which I think that's one of the biggest challenges because it's $120 tonight, and then on a busy weekend, it's $200.
$300.
Yeah, it's like
no, it's one set rate. They can guarantee X amount of rooms at this set rate at any time during the year.
Well, that's good. That's good. Where can people follow you and follow the nonprofit online other than the website? You obviously have an Instagram. What's the Instagram?
And NJVSA_official.
Okay.
Because someone else took something similar to mine, or so I had to come up with something to make it work. On Facebook, it's just New Jersey Veteran Support Alliance. On TikTok, It's NJVSA and New Jersey Veteran Sport Alliance. You'll be able to find me there. But if you go to my website, njvsa.org, throw in a donation about it. We'll take any amount. Remember that. You'll see all the links to my social media right at the top header of the page.
Okay. Well, I encourage everyone to go check it out. Donate $1. If 100 people donate $1, it's $100.
That's a night out of the street. 100 people donate, $1 too. That could be a child, one of the veterans' kids' tickets, to a water park about it. Or as we get closer to Christmas, I adopt a family that needs help, and I can provide that Christmas experience. There's a lot of things in the work that I'm trying to do.
That's cool. And all this can be found on the website, like the events you're doing and stuff.
Yep. I have a page that's going to announce every event I'm doing. We just built that. There's a page for donations.
Donations. We need to stop, zoom in when you say donations.
Cough up. Please edit that part out. But no. So there's a donation part of it. There's a page that announces everything that we're doing, different activities we're doing. There's also we're adding a ticket function to it. So I have the American Dream event coming up. They can go to my website and request tickets right there on the website. So it's not cold calling anymore. It's not any of that. I could mass email everybody that I've served in the past and other people, announce it on social media too, and they can go to my website and request tickets there.
Makes it easy. And we all know the easier it is to access something, people are more willing to do it. So
sure.
Well, brother, I appreciate you for jumping on. I appreciate what you're doing. I encourage everyone to go check out the New Jersey Veteran Support Alliance. Good cause for good people. And this is the one with Eric Crafton. And we are out.
Awesome.
Later.